You're traveling through the unknown, a journey beyond the corners of reality, where the shadows whisper and the chill runs deep. Welcome to the dimension where your deepest fears are given form. This is The Midnight Mystery.
Welcome to The Midnight Mystery. This episode is called, I Found a Gate to Hell in My Basement. In each episode, we delve into the shadowed corners of our existence, bringing you tales of the eerie, the uncanny, and the downright terrifying. From the realms of the supernatural to the depths of the human psyche, no stone is left unturned, no dark secret left hidden. As the clock once again draws near midnight, prepare to embark on another adventure into the uncanny, the eerie, the horrifying, the Midnight Mystery.
Hey there, I'm Timothy. I want to share a really tough part of my past with you. When my mom passed away, it felt like all the warmth and joy left our lives. Our home, which used to be filled with so much happiness and love, just became this place filled with sadness and loss. My dad, who was always this super strong person, just kind of fell apart. He started spending all his time in the basement, totally obsessed with something he was working on down there. He said he was making a tribute to Mom, but I could see in his eyes that something wasn't right. He talked about doing something impossible, like somehow bringing my mom's spirit back. The basement turned into this creepy place with weird symbols everywhere, and shadows that seemed to move on their own. And there were these strange noises and smells that would creep up into the rest of the house. It made me really uneasy just being near the basement door. I tried to make sense of it all, but it was like trying to grasp at things that just couldn't be real. The whole vibe of the house began to change. It felt like something dark and foreboding was taking over. At night, the silence was overpowering, and it felt like the house itself was alive with something mysterious and terrifying. And all the while, my dad was getting lost in whatever strange thing he was pursuing in the basement, trying to find something that seemed further and further out of reach. Our home was so filled with sadness, like shadows were everywhere, making everything feel darker and colder. I remember these strange symbols my dad put in the basement. They seemed really old and powerful, and they kind of moved if you looked at them too long. My dad would be down there always mumbling and chanting strange stuff, and it made the house feel really off, like it was filled with ghosts or something. Sometimes late at night, he'd sound so desperate, like he was begging or making deals with someone or something that wasn't really there. It was really scary and made me feel like something really bad and mysterious was happening in our home. I was so torn. Part of me, so sad and lost, really wanted to believe that we could somehow see my mom again. But another part felt like this was dangerous and crazy, and that I should stop him before it was too late. He used to talk about creating a door, some kind of special passage that he thought could connect us with heaven or something like that. He said things that made it sound beautiful and hopeful, like we could feel my mom's spirit with us again. Because of all this, our house felt really creepy and strange, like it was filled with some kind of energy that was hiding just out of sight. It was like the normal world, and something else were getting mixed up, and these shadows were filling up our home, making everything confusing and scary. One stormy evening, curiosity finally got the better of me. The house felt more alive than usual, electricity crackling in the air, mingling with the sound of thunder that reverberated through the gloomy sky. I found the basement door slightly open, an unusual occurrence as my father was meticulous about keeping his grim workings shrouded in secrecy. As I nudged the door further, a bizarre spectacle unfolded before my eyes. The basement was bathed in a surreal glow, an ethereal radiance that seemed out of place in the murky confines of our home. My eyes were drawn to the centerpiece of the strange tableau, an opulent doorframe, standing ominously amidst the shadows. It was no ordinary door. It shimmered with gemstones and gold. Every inch of it seemed to throb with a mysterious energy that made the air hum with intensity. My father was there too, a figure of utter concentration and desperation. His voice resonated through the room, louder and more forceful than I had ever heard. His words filled the space, bouncing off the walls, absorbed by the arcane symbols that surrounded us. Sweat poured down his forehead, testament to the immense effort he was exerting in this cryptic ritual. I stood there, hidden in the shadows, witnessing an event that seemed to challenge the very fabric of reality. Questions flooded my mind, each more unsettling than the last. What realm was he trying to access with this strange doorway? What entities was he beckoning with his powerful chants? My heart raced as I watched, an unsettling mix of fear and fascination gripping me. I felt as though I was standing on the precipice of something immense, a dark secret that had consumed my father and threatened to engulf our reality. Standing there, peeking through the crack of the basement door, the sight before me morphed into something far more terrifying. The glow around the door intensified, becoming almost blinding, but it was what lurked within that glow that made my blood run cold. Shadows began to emerge, formless at first, but then they twisted and writhed into grotesque shapes that seemed to defy the laws of our world. As I squinted to make sense of what I was seeing, the shadows seemed to dance, a macabre performance that filled the room with a palpable sense of malice. Their eyes were the worst part, fiery red orbs that glared with a hunger, an eagerness that suggested a terrible purpose. My mind raced, trying to process the unfolding nightmare. The hope that had lingered in some hidden corner of my heart, the hope of seeing my mother again, evaporated into the chilling air of the basement. Panic surged through my veins, a tidal wave of realization drowning my senses. This was not a doorway to heaven. There was nothing divine or holy about the spectacle I was witnessing. Every chant from my father seemed to feed the shadows, making them grow more vivid and terrifying. I could feel their presence reaching out, hungry tendrils of darkness that sought to consume everything in their path. It felt like we were on the brink, teetering on the edge of a chasm filled with unspeakable horrors. Struggling with a suffocating sense of dread, I knew that something had to be done. The shadows, the door, the chants, they were all pieces of a terrifying puzzle that threatened to unleash chaos upon our world. The room quaked, vibrations cascading through the floor and rattling the very foundations of the house. A deep, resonant growl emerged from the doorway, a sound so terrible it seemed to claw at the edges of reality. It filled the space, reverberating with a sinister echo that consumed all sense of hope. I watched, heart pounding, as the unspeakable began to unfold. Creatures, one after another, started to make their way out of the ominous glow of the door. Words failed to fully capture their grotesqueness. They were a horrific distortion of the human form, each movement oozing with a malice that seemed to corrupt the very air around them. My father, once so steadfast in his mission, appeared to finally grasp the horrifying truth of what he'd unleashed. His face contorted with a mix of terror and regret. He rushed forward in a desperate attempt to close the door and contain the monstrosities pouring into our world. But it was too late. The creatures, their forms shrouded in a darkness that seemed to absorb all light, overpowered him with terrifying force. I watched, paralyzed as they dragged him, screaming towards the abyss from which they had come. His cries, filled with terror and a heartbreaking desperation, echoed through the room, mingling with the growls of the abyss. The last words I heard from him cut through the chaos, a desperate apology, filled with the crushing weight of realization. The shadows swallowed him, and he disappeared into the ominous doorway, leaving behind nothing but the terrifying echoes of the nightmare he had inadvertently unleashed. The room was left in a haunting silence, the shadows lingering, whispering of the unspeakable horrors that had just unfolded. I stood there, heart racing, gasping for breath, the air thick with a malevolent energy that seemed to grip my very soul. My father was gone, swallowed by the darkness he had unwittingly unleashed upon our world. The creatures had retreated into the abyss, but the doorway remained, an ominous portal pulsating with a sinister energy that seemed to corrupt the space around it. The symbols on the walls throbbed with a sickly glow, echoes of the chants still resonating in the shadows. I knew I had to act, had to somehow close this gateway to prevent the horrors from flooding into our reality. With a trembling hand, I stepped forward, feeling the cold rush of the unknown breathing down my neck. The room seemed to warp around me, the boundaries of reality becoming blurred, and the air filled with whispers of torment and despair. Closing my eyes, I tried to muster every ounce of strength, every shred of knowledge that might help me seal the abyss and put an end to the nightmare. Shadows flickered at the corners of my vision, taunting me, threatening to engulf me in the darkness that had claimed my father. The ground beneath me trembled, resonating with the cruel laughter of the abyss, as if mocking my feeble attempts to undo what had been wrought. Time seemed distorted, every second stretching into an eternity of struggle against the forces that sought to break through the veil of our world. In a final, desperate effort, I reached out to the door, hoping against hope to close the gateway and seal away the terrors lurking beyond. The struggle was immense, each moment a battle against the relentless tide of darkness. The doorway flickered, the boundaries between two unthinkable realities waning and waxing like a horrifying heartbeat. I could feel the world around me warping, bending beneath the immense pressure of the sinister forces clawing their way into existence. The room became a vortex of chaotic energies, and the air thickened with the suffocating essence of the abyss. Despite my struggles, the invasion was relentless. Shadows slipped through the cracks of reality, spreading like a plague through the room and beyond. Demonic entities, formless and cruel, their bodies a distortion of agony and malice, poured into our world. The door became a relentless torrent of horror, unleashing wave after wave of darkness, each more terrifying than the last. In a breath, the whole world seemed to shudder under the weight of this newfound terror. Nightmares walked the streets. Unseen shadows whispered into the ears of the living, driving minds to the brink of madness. Cities fell into chaos. Societies crumbled under the invisible onslaught of fear and despair, unseen horrors twisting the very essence of reality. It seemed the door had not just opened in the confines of our haunted dwelling, but its darkness echoed across the globe, turning the world into a playground of the grotesque. Skies bled with colors unknown, storms raged with unmatched fury, and shadows danced with a life of their own, wreaking horrors beyond comprehension. The earth itself seemed to groan in agony. Ancient and powerful landscapes twisted and corrupted by the inexorable spread of darkness. Oceans boiled with a newfound wrath. Mountains crumbled beneath invisible forces, and forests withered under a sky shrouded in a sinister haze. There was no place untouched, no refuge from the macabre symphony that played in the hidden corners of the world. The doorway had unleashed more than just entities of darkness. It had unbound the very essence of terror, allowing it to seep into the foundation of existence, rewriting the symphony of the world into a haunting requiem of despair and chaos.
I hope you enjoyed our episode. I'd like to extend a heartfelt thanks to you, our brave listeners. Your presence in this shared journey into the unknown is what fuels our stories. Your fascination is our motivation. Did this episode send chills down your spine? Then leave your comments, your thoughts and theories, your own midnight mysteries. Your feedback is the beacon that guides us through the uncharted territories of our stories. And if you haven't already, remember to subscribe to our channel. By joining the Midnight Mystery family, you won't miss out on a single chilling tale. As a subscriber, you'll be the first to know when a new episode lurks around the corner, ready to pull you back into the shadowy depths of the unknown. This is the Midnight Mystery signing off, leaving you with a simple reminder. When the clock strikes 12, fear the silence, for that's when our tales come to life. Good night, Midnight listeners. And remember, not all who wander into the dark are lost.